This is where I left off last time. As you can see, when it's liquid, it keeps doing its own thing. Kept traveling. Little alcohol blotches, some of them stayed on there, some not so much. But that's pretty much how it works. I think I'm gonna do this one with my, it's gonna be the turquoise and browns one. So I am going to use some of this, and this is pretty much how I make these. Put a little bit of water, not too much, depending on the consistency of the paint. Just use my fingers because that's how I like to do it. And I will slowly add layers to add depth and dimension and contrast. I think the hardest thing that I've found that people have doing this is using either too little or too much water. So it's a matter of just playing with the consistency and see what works for you. Right now you can kind of see through that, but it's alright because it's going to build up. This will probably end up having at least 6 layers of the browns, and I'll probably add a darker one after that. I think this one is it's Burnt Sienna by Nova Color. And probably what I will add is the Burnt Umber by Nova Color afterwards. So today it's a little bit warm in here, so I think it's better. The other day I think it was cool in here, so acrylics dry slower when it's cool. What I'm going to do is add a few drops of alcohol just to get some texture going. And this is just the funnest thing ever. If you can see that turquoise popping through, it's awesome. That's one of my favorite things ever. Of course, the trick is not to get too attached to that because it will change. And I think that's one of those things about this type of artwork. It teaches me non-attachment, and it teaches me I have no control. That sounds like life right now. So, yeah, pretty good lesson. And of all types of painting that I would have ever come up with, I would have never thought I would be attracted to doing art that was this unpredictable. Because I used to be a control freak. So anyway, I'm going to let that sit for a bit. I'll probably add a little bit of this gold pearlescent acrylic. Sometimes this works pretty well on the liquid acrylic, sometimes it doesn't. I haven't figured it out. Sometimes it leaves the perfect mark, sometimes it kind of gets drowned out by the color of the acrylic, like right there. So what I've been finding is that lately what I'll do, which takes a lot longer, is I'll let that layer of acrylic dry, then put a layer of water, just very thin, and do the drops, because I like the splash effect that happens, and that mostly happens when it's falling on wet. So anyway, I'll let this dry for a bit. This is why my artwork takes so long. Okay, we're back. It is dry. It is time for another layer of this burnt sienna. I will try and piece all these together into one video, at least this layer of brown. We'll see. This one dried up pretty well because you could see some of that, how it stayed. It feels a little bit cooler in here today than it did yesterday, so it may not work as well, never know. Try not to be attached to the cool stuff right there. I may or may not cover it up. I think sometimes if I'm willing to cover it up, if it's supposed to be there, it will. Go ahead and make it a little bit thicker on this side. I think when it's a little bit thicker, a little bit more on the thick side, not as watery, then it seems to do better, but it's always hard to tell. You never know. These paintings a lot of times are just big surprises, even to me. I usually will have an idea of what I want to happen, but doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. So okay, I'm kind of liking that. This time I'm gonna wait to put the gold until this is dry, because last time it got drowned out by the brown. So anyway, I'll let this run a little bit so you can see what it's doing, how it's changing a bit, merging. I tried to keep my surface as level as possible, but sometimes it's just really hard to do. So anyway, gonna let this one dry, and I'll be back. Popping back on for a minute. It's still wet, but you see how it changed from what I had before. So I want some more detail. So I'm gonna add a little bit more alcohol drops to try and bring out some more of these little circles that I like. So anyway, but we'll see if those manage to stay during the drying process. So we'll stay tuned. For more information about my art, please check out my website at gretaolivas.com or find me on social media.